So the semester at WNL starts with a 2-week immersion, and in that 2-week immersion, it's just 2 weeks of a crash course in everything that deals with litigation. So you start with the client interview, you learn how to negotiate, you then negotiate, you go from then drafting a complaint to filing an answer and taking it all the way through to the trial. And in that sense, you're working with your peers, you're with your classmates. And so it's a very crash course where you're kind of doing everything. In the practicums, which is what you do for the rest of the semester, it's based on whatever subject you're taking. So for example, I took a higher education practicum. And what that meant was that we would basically represent a college or a university. And so what that meant was that we would take it from the beginning, like we did in the immersion, but much more thorough. So we would have a college or university official come and meet with us, and we would interview them and figure out what the problem is. We would do research on it. We would draft a memo to the council for the university. We would draft a memo to the university officials themselves. And so it was much more thorough, and you were doing a lot more, but you were still kind of remaining true to the litigation immersion, in the sense that you're doing this in a practical way, and you're doing it in a way that you are really focusing on who the client is and what you actually would be doing in a real life scenario. The whole semester and the litigation immersion itself is very different from your first and your second year. I mean, your first and your second year, you're learning the law, and you're learning how to kind of regurgitate everything that you've learned throughout the semester one time in an exam. And so it's not as practical in terms of what you're actually going to be doing once you graduate law school. Your firm or the judge or whoever you work for isn't really going to care what the black letter law is. They know what it is. They want to know how you can apply it to the situation. And so it was very interesting to me, and a very difficult transition at first, to think about what a client interview would be like and what you do in that client interview, to think about how you would file a complaint, what you write in a complaint, how that's different than a law school exam. So it was much more practical than what you do your first and second year, and it's a chance for you to apply what you've learned in your first and second year in a much more realistic way than what you'll be doing in the working world. The litigation immersion during the first semester really helped the transition, because right after that I then went into the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, which was the prosecution externship. And the reason that it helped, well, while it was dealing with a civil matter and I was working with purely criminal things, there were certain aspects that I definitely used and I remembered in my externship. For example, every time that I was there and I'd be doing a trial or doing a hearing, I'd have to direct examine someone, or I'd have to do a cross-examination. And so I would remember not only the direct and cross-examination that I did during the immersion, but I also remembered the drills that we did involving direct and cross-examination, the exercises that we had to do, and remember what the direct examination is supposed to look like, what the cross-examination, the goal should be, and I would think about it as I was asking my questions, and I feel like if I didn't have that opportunity, I kind of would be entering this externship and not really able to contribute anything right at the beginning. I do have friends at other law schools, and some of them are doing clinics at the school. I know that that is something that a lot of schools offer, but I think that that's a very limited thing that you can do your third year. It's something that you only have to do maybe one semester, whereas at WNL you have to do it the whole year. The whole year is a practice-based approach, and so instead of going to classes 3 days a week and just meeting with the client once a week, you're thinking about meeting with the client. You're thinking about preparing your case throughout the week at WNL, and I think that it's very helpful to law students to be able to get in that mindset before they actually enter whatever job they're going to do. And I think that if you're taking classes alone or doing a clinic once a year, I'm not sure that that will actually get you in that mindset. The past semester really did confirm the fact that I do want to be a litigator. And what was so unique about it was that I've always known that litigation is something that I wanted to do, but I've never had the opportunity to literally do everything that a litigator would do from start to finish. I mean, when you're working at a firm for the summer or working for a judge or working for a nonprofit, you don't see things from start to finish. You're only there for 8 to 10 weeks. Whereas this past semester, I did see what every aspect of being a litigator is, whether it's counseling your client, whether it's doing a motion in front of a judge, whether it's actually going to trial, whether it's trying to negotiate and settle. That's not something that you will get before you start working, and even then you might not even see that for 4 years down the road. So the fact that I could learn everything, kind of dip my feet in the water during my third year, really helped me figure out that yes, this is what I want to do.